Collaborate last night. Collaborate.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday morning VOCC. We have with us today Scott Smith from Father's House is going to lead us in invocation. So I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Hey, thank you. See my push, there we go. Thank you, Father, for this gathering today. As we meet together, we ask for your wisdom and unity in decision-making. For the prosperity of the county, we ask that you bless the commissioners and everyone involved in the proceeding. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you. For those that can join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'll entertain a motion for minutes from last week.
I I move approval of the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from last week. Comments, questions? Seeing none, okay. Call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll run over the consent agenda. Item 1, call for bids. Call for bids for construction of a storage building for the Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office. This has been in the works for a few years. Currently, emergency equipment like the boats, is it the Bobcat? Bearcat. The different equipment they have is kind of scattered around the county. So we've had this in the works for a while to build this storage building. It'd sit on the corner of the fairgrounds where the coroner's office is, and then you have that access road, and then the fairgrounds, that corner right in there. So all their emergency type equipment will be stored over there. That's going out for bids, so we'll see what comes back on that. It's money we've actually set aside in Public Works quite a while ago and just haven't gotten to it yet. Agreement, contracts, bid awards. We're looking at a contract extension for August 2027 to August 2023 with Motorola Solutions. Motorola does our body cameras and our vehicle cameras. We're under a current agreement that started in 2022. And we have the opportunity to extend that at what we believe is a pretty good rate compared to what we're seeing around the county. So we're taking the opportunity to extend that for 3 years for $190,449, and we'll pay that 1/3 of it each of those years. Bid award to JL Stordahl for the purchase of road servicing materials for the period of May 1st, 2025 through April 30th, 2026. If you remember, when we put out for road materials, we take all bidders, and we only had 2, and they were pretty much up here in the north area, I think Toledo area. And so we put out another bid to see if we could get some others down and JL Stordahl put in. So we're adding them to the existing 2 we have. Contract execution and bond in lieu of retainage with Lakeside Industries for the countywide pavement overlay project. That's a total cost. We're looking at a little over $2.5 million for the overlay project. Ooh, board correspondence got quite a bit. Letter dated 6/4/25 to Mike Mormon, state demographer. They sent us forecasting and research division regarding preliminary population estimates. They do it for all the counties. They're not, I can tell you, looking through it, they're not expecting much growth at all in Cowlitz County, or most of the counties actually. Letter from FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, on their Weir 3 final design. Another letter from FERC regarding the 2022 inspection follow-up items on SWIFT number 2. Remember, these are all letters to Pacific Power that we get copies of. Retirement letter dated 6/17 to Brent Harris, congratulating him on 34 years of service in the sheriff's office. Retirement letter dated 6/17/25 to Fred Taylor, congratulating him on his 31 years of service in the sheriff's office. Retirement letter dated 6/17/25 to Rich Iverson, congratulating him on 34 years of service with Public Works. Letter dated 6/17/25 to Brent Harris. We appointed him to the Civil Service Commission for the Sheriff's Office. 6-year term expires at the end of December 2034. And the same with Mr. Taylor, 6/17/25, a letter appointing him to the Civil Service Commission for the Sheriff's Office. 6-year term expires the end of December 2034. Contract executed agreement with NORPAC, North Pacific Paper Company LLC for solid waste disposable surfaces at the headquarters landfill. It's a contract we've been working on for quite a while. I'll give kudos to my seatmate here, Commissioner Farrell. Really kind of drove that home with him. He had some conversations and we were finally able to get that done. So we appreciate that. Vouchers in the amount of $6,518,262.51. And that is consent agenda. Any questions, comments on consent? Okay, see none. I ask for a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve consent agenda. I'll take one more scan here. Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. We have one motion item and they'll take that table over there. So
Good morning, everyone. Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. Public Works is bringing one item this morning on the motion agenda. It is the bid award for the county-wide guardrail project for a total cost of $298,888. This is the award for the installation of new guardrail. This is not our repair contract. This work is partially funded, 90% funded with highway safety money. We received 5 bidders and we are well below the engineer's estimate this year.
any questions on that? This is, a lot of this is up Kalama
Yes.
River Road. Yeah. Any questions, comments on that? Those are shiny new baubles for people in cars, I can tell you.
Yes.
Okay, see, none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move approval of the Public Works bid award to Dirt and Aggregate Interchange, Inc.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the bid award to Dirt and Aggregate Interchange, Inc. One last scan. Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Before I open the public comments, I'm going to run through something because it kind of relates to the Forest Service that was in last week. And by the way, we had a conversation. We're going to try and bring more of those in on a Tuesday. We're looking at trying to reschedule Department of Ecology. We might just look at doing quite a few of them. And we're in a process, we're in a process where we're going to be doing a lot of work at HOJ and different places. So I think we've talked to Public Works and they've agreed to it. I think we're going to put them on as an agenda item. What they usually tell us on a Wednesday, we'll get on a Tuesday. So you hear some of the stuff that we're working on and kind of be more informed of that because y'all don't show up on Wednesday. You all show up on Tuesday. So we're trying to adjust and bring some of that to you on Tuesday. So you'll see more of that, okay? But last Tuesday, we had the Forest Service in and they talked a lot about logging. I happened to sit on Timber County's caucus. Former Commissioner Weber always sat on that. It's a caucus put together by WASAC, our state association. And what that caucus does in the state of Washington, we have a forest practice board that regulates logging activity for private timber owners, setbacks, streams, all that kind of stuff. That board has 13 people that sit on it. And there's the committee that ends up sitting on that board is made up of 8 caucuses, and one of them is the counties, which I sit on. And we have one rep of those 13. It's vacant right now, but we have names into the governor's office to appoint one to sit on that. So they vote when things come up when the forest practices board. So that's kind of, we don't have a whole lot of say, but we have a little bit of input when they're looking at different items. Like they just passed one on increased setbacks and increased things in the stream, and so it's important to keep up to date on that. DNR is going through how do they put it? A sustainable harvest study in Eastern Washington. They spent 10 years doing one in Western Washington. Now they're working on Eastern Washington because they're so different. So it's just a lot of things that you need to keep up on, but they came out with some stats they were presenting to us. And I thought a couple of them really pertained to some of the conversation we had. I think Ron had a question on, for the Forest Services, how much harvesting do they do? And she gave you, I don't know what she gave you, but I can tell you in 2024, the statewide timber harvest, private large and private small accounted for about 67% of all harvesting in the state of Washington. State and counties was 22%. Tribes harvested about 7%, and the Forest Service was 4%. So they don't do a ton, but that's what they did last year. State of Washington, 54% of our land is covered in forest land. So we'd probably like to see a little more of that. Another stat they gave, which I thought was interesting because we've noticed harvest. I mean, Flo's talked on it a couple of times. The actual board feet that they took in 2024 was the lowest since the Great Depression. In fact, it's at a level where what was communicated was it's at a level where all the mills in place right now would not be able to survive at that level. It's down pretty low. And I don't know all the reasons why the harvest levels are low. In certain areas, we don't think it's low, but you're looking at statewide, the harvest levels are down to Great Depression levels, which was kind of interesting to hear. So that just for whatever it is. They did a top concerns today. They did a survey. They have a group out of Portland that does this survey for them every couple of years, I think. And which of the following, and this I think really fits into what we see or we talk about quite often. Which one of the following would you say is the most important issue facing people in Washington today? Well, I'll give you the top 3 because I think they all kind of bleed together. Number 1 is taxes and government. Number 2 is rising prices on everyday foods like gasoline and groceries. And number 3 is housing costs and rent. Well, I think that all bleeds out of policy and stuff out in Olympia. So to me, it was just kind of a little reaffirmation of we don't think they know what they're doing. Anyway, that's just from that conversation last week, just some follow-up information that came about my way. Ron?
Just an interesting observation on your comments. We've had a lot of forest fires around in the last few years. Living over in eastern Washington, adjacent to the Colville Confederated Tribes. They go like bunkers in going in and harvesting the trees after there's been a burn. They manage
the
their
tribes do?
grounds.
Yeah,
And I see the logging trucks going like crazy in trying to get that wood that has a year or 2 year before it goes
yeah.
bad. I don't see any of that on any of our public grounds. I don't see the Forest Service in there cleaning up, taking advantage of that. It's an open in environmental regulation, it's everything to get a cleanup done. So that's another question for our management of all of our forests.
Yeah, you might, and I'd give anybody a copy of this if they wanted. This was presented by DNR. And it was basically showing the steps in their study in Eastern Washington and all the things they go through. You look through it and you go, well, I look through it and go, man, this is disgusting. But it just shows you the red tape and the government overreach, in my opinion. But
Do we happen to
In-
know offhand how much of Callis County is forest land? Percentage wise, just roughly.
you know, I've heard that stat before in it, but I don't recall it. This is when I need to be able to call Weber because he had all that stuff stuck in his head.
You did.
Okay.
Just one, well, two questions. One is the stats that you got were the public lands being harvested. Okay, my contention was that the private lands, Weyerhaeuser, Pacific, Crest, anyways, they're doing their harvesting in such a way that it's in huge areas, and then they'll move on, probably south or something. But in the areas that they are harvesting, they're doing it into a degree that I believe it's environmentally harmful to our streams and everything. I've ridden, like, go to the PH, at the end of PH 10, and I just rode there right before I got dumped off my horse 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. And it's just phenomenal. That's a public land, how much they have logged. So, you know, these mills might not survive on what the state gives them, but they definitely are doing a good job on what Weyerhaeuser and
Well, that logging board feed is all logging. Doesn't matter who does it. That the levels,
well, then.
that they
why-
gave me, the levels are down to like depression area.
But why is that when we can see the acreage that they're doing? And I have log trucks going by my place all the time.
And that's what I said. I said, we certainly see it in certain areas. It must not be all over the state if the levels are that low, but
Just behind my
we're
house.
seeing some areas around us. I mean, right up by my house, I've seen a lot, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they've just devastated everywhere we've ridden, and all our gorgeous trails are gone. But and then too, that it does affect the wildlife as well. So I'd really like to have those people here. I'd like to ask them those questions. Why don't they have the private lands have a better plan of their harvesting so that they don't cause environmental harm? That they can leave some of before I got dumped off my horse, we crossed Arkansas 5 times. And I had to do it in my boots on the way back. So anyways, it's really a lot lower at right now. And then 2 weeks ago when we had some rain, it was like torrential. So I know that we don't have enough vegetation holding that back. It's like when it does rain, it just carves out their huge areas of the bank and everything. It wipes out a lot. And then when we have the dry, it really goes down quite a bit. So that tells me that they don't have the adequate vegetation along the bank. And we've ridden that area where it's supposed to be 100 feet and it's not. We're talking like maybe 50 feet. So I think there's a little bit of fudging going on. And I just would like to have it better managed and monitored. Thank you.
Chairman, under the comments is that we had Larry Wood in last week. Could you give a quick summary of that event?
Yeah, we had that proposal in in the last, I guess it has been just a week, in the last 7 days, we've had, you expressed, Commissioner Farrell expressed some concerns with it being gifting of public funds and stuff like that. And we have an opinion from our lead attorney that sent us and basically restates that. And he stated quite a few cases around the state of Washington where for a government entity to get into like a private type enterprise type thing, is a big no-no. So I don't, if that is to proceed, it's gonna have to be something that a builder or a contractor wants to do on their own. I can't see from looking through the opinion and the court cases that he cited that we would have the ability to participate in that. Did you see that any
Yeah,
different?
reading through that legal opinion, it looked to me like we'd have to have legislature change the laws in order to allow us to participate in something like that.
Yeah. So that, from our standpoint, and I haven't had a chance to talk with Mr. Wood, I'm sure I'll see him at some point in time. And it's not that I think we need to try. I'm okay trying things out of the box if it can help some of the housing a little bit, but I have to be careful that we're just not using your guys' funds for speculative type things. Does that kind of make sense? So that's kind of where that's at, Ron. Okay.
It's a great concept. I mean, I appreciate his thoughts and the whole goal that he's after. It's a noble cause, but for us to participate in it, it doesn't make good sense for us to gamble with taxpayer money.
Yeah. Anything else you guys got? Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, is there a chance that some of that land that's not being used could just be put for sale and developed, and then that would help? And maybe some of those,
Yeah.
some of the funds that have been set aside for homelessness. I know one of the commissioners previously had said maybe some of those funds could be used to offset some of the fees that a builder has to pay in order to build. So maybe that would encourage development. I don't know if that's even
Yeah, we
possible.
looked at that too, and that's another area I like the idea, but we have to be kind of careful on and how that's structured.
Got it.
The land Mr. Wood was talking about from the county is already planned for some RV spots
Oh, got it.
over in
Okay.
Deal.
Yeah.
The other piece we were talking about, the city of Longview will be putting that for sale.
Okay.
There, last I talked to them over there, they had, and I don't remember the item they were waiting for. They were waiting for one more item, and then they're hoping to put it for sale.
Got it. Got it. Is there any way to alleviate some of the fees? I don't know all the dynamics by any means, but some of the fees that
Yeah.
a builder encounters from the county in order to encourage development? I don't know. Like, I don't know what that would look like, just throwing it
Yeah.
out there.
What I can tell you is I'm always looking for ways
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
that, and it's been kind of a struggle because
Yeah.
I can't treat one builder different from another. And
Right. Yeah.
you
I'm
know,
just
so
thinking
you
like
get-
a policy, an overall policy,
Yeah.
not something specific for one builder, but Yeah.
if what I would tell you, if we could find a way to do it, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to looking at that and seeing if it could be structured and help the cause a little bit.
yeah, just anything to encourage development. I'm a little relieved actually about the legal piece of it, because I don't think it's the government's role to be in rentals, in housing, but what can the government do to encourage development and to alleviate some of that burden that all builders encounter? So anyway,
I would agree with you. It's not our role, but we're involved with Campus Towers. We did Sunrise Village,
I get that
but
you are, but
I don't disagree with you though.
yeah, I get that there's things that are already done, but I wouldn't use that as a reason to continue it. And I'm not saying that you're saying that, because I know that you're not in that camp, but But at some point in time, we've got to say, no, the government's not going to provide housing, but we're going to encourage development. We're going to decrease fund. And I know you guys are looking at that all the time. I'm not saying this as anything against you, just, I guess, just encouraging it to continue
Yeah.
maybe. So.
Anything else? There's the shirt.
Yeah, I found it. I thought I lost it. So I'm just, this is kind of funny, right? So I was reading Facebook, this lady over in Longview is starving herself because of our ICE contract with our jail having a contract with ICE, which I don't think we have that contract anymore, right? I've asked about it before and
I don't believe we do.
I don't think we're
No.
doing any kind of ICE stuff at all, are we? So I just wanted to make sure of that because there is this lady over in Longview is in the Daily News and she's like on a starvation protest over this ICE detention. So
Nothing I know of.
Nothing I know. I mean,
yeah,
if
yeah.
ICE, I don't even know if ICE has been in our county, but if they come in and they do their job, it's not always that.
Well,
I don't know that we'll know
we're in
about
a
it every
sanctuary
town.
state in a sanctuary county, right? I mean, that's the way it's listed on the papers. That's what our deal is, right? I'm not
Yeah.
arguing the ICE thing. I'm just saying this poor lady over in Longview's got herself all worked up into a tizzy over something that doesn't even exist.
Well,
you
take
know?
her something to eat, Tim.
Well, I get her pizza or something, maybe something like that, but
Happy Meal.
maybe, it's like somebody ought to go tell her, you don't have to die over this, you know what I mean? Cause you're dying for nothing. Anyway, I thought that was kind of a funny one that came
Yeah.
up this last week.
While I got some of you here, one thing I'm going to try to, I think we're going to try to do, because I'm a little, we're headed into a 2-year budget cycle, and I've heard comments from people around that keep it transparent. I know, because I have some concerns with it. It's the items we depend on to pay for stuff like your sales tax and your property tax aren't really growing that much, and you're not seeing it statewide. I'm not picking on Cowlitz County. It's pretty much statewide, but the costs outside, like insurance premiums going up 25%, just other stuff isn't obeying and being in line with what the increases are. And I think everybody here knows me well enough to that raising taxes on you is really not an option that I think you pay enough. So we need to look at other ways. And I'm just saying it's just going to be kind of a tough year to make everything work. And we're going to try our hardest, but you should be involved with that. And we're going to try and keep it as transparent as possible. Well, I see no reason why it should never be transparent. It's your money. So might try and bring some of those discussions on Tuesday, because once again, if we hold them on Wednesday, you don't show up. So it'd be good to have you involved with that. But I'm just telling you, that's down the road. You probably won't see anything till August or September when we really start getting some numbers. But just putting that out to you, that it is a concern.
So start packing lunch on Tuesdays.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you got? You want to make it easy on us today? Yeah, oh, yeah, sorry. Okay.
Well, good morning. I think, Rick, you've been asking me about my cataract surgery, and that cataract surgery went extremely well, but now I'm in the process of getting my new eyeglasses to match my cataracts, and that's causing a
Awesome.
problem. So my eyes don't know whether I should read this with or without my glasses.
I got
So
you.
I got to take them off, but I got to go back and get new glasses, I think.
Yeah.
I want to talk about mental health in Cowlitz County. And I'm here to present to you thoughts, ideas, and recommendations to consider for mental health treatment in Cowlitz County. I have personally spent the last 3 years involved in trying to understand the homeless issue. And that began with Camp Alabama in its original format in my first visits over there. After that, I visited the county jail, and I walked away from that visit with why are the mental ill people in the jail to begin with. Then I visited a juvie facility and found out that there, I believe the number was about 70 unused beds, which could be appropriate for the mentally ill. Then I learned about the efforts of the cities, both Kelso and Longview, and how they dealt and are dealing with the homeless, and witnessed and still watching the drama in Longview play out in real time. We read the book, The Tragedy of American Compassion, and I believe, Steve, you introduced that book to us by Marvin Olasky, and we were so impressed that we provided 20 copies free of charge to various leaders around the county. I've had ongoing discussions with many local businesses as well as hundreds of citizens all around the county while talking with them on their own doorsteps. I collaborated with Mr. Youngren back there, who's got 35 years of experience in the field dealing with the mentally ill. And I think you know he's a top researcher and very knowledgeable about this topic as well, and is well known to this body for his accurate information about the COVID fiasco. So Bill has been very instrumental. Bill and I discussed the issue with over 35 local leaders, including the mayors, law enforcement, judges, prosecuting attorney, and other prominent citizens in our county. We became aware of the vast network of existing organizations trying to deal with the various symptoms. And I gradually began to understand the connection between the mentally ill and the effects on public safety. And without exception, all the people we talked to recognize that we need a mental health facility at the local level. I mean, that was universal. That came out of every one of the discussions that we had. And that's what this is all about today for me. Partway through the learning experience, our organization, the 4 Cs, Cowlitz County Concerned Citizens, produced a paper titled A Better Path for Public Safety in Longview and Cowlitz County. That paper was used as a basis for talking points with the leaders mentioned above, and all of you have previously received a copy of that study. This paper was a philosophical understanding of the homeless issue and provided a basis for understanding effective as well as ineffective treatments. We now have produced our next paper, Behavioral Health Cowlitz County, a Roadmap, in which I will be presenting to you at the end of my comments. Points to consider. The first and primary role of government is public safety. We have had no comprehensive leadership on this issue from the county level, and I'm not finding fault with anybody. That just a statement of fact that I don't think we've seen a comprehensive leadership at the county level. The leadership vacuum has been filled with many and diverse efforts, but most are treating symptoms. The symptoms of the mentally ill are all around us and have a profound negative impact on public safety, not to mention basic quality of life concerns for many. I can report an almost unanimous reaction from elected officials, law enforcement, business owners, and normal citizens that this is an unmet need, and we need to address this issue immediately. The cost and assets needed are too much for any government agency smaller than the county. In fact, we may need to consider a regional option. In conclusion, we need a locally controlled, comprehensive mental health treatment facility. Concerns: who will pay for it, obviously. And we do not want to increase the size and scope of government. These are broad sentiments and are both fiscal and constitutional reality. We discuss these points in some detail in our paper. We do not have a choice if we value our citizens in need and balance that with public safety for the rest of us. We may have to re-engineer our local county government to respond to these challenging needs. Our immediate recommendations: please review this paper and accept the role to provide leadership for behavioral health process and programs for Cowlitz County. Assign one commissioner to take the lead. We need a focal point for everybody to come to. Assign a project manager to drive information process and decision-making. This, and all the time that I spent doing this, I can tell you this is a full-time job. You need somebody to focus on this and drive it all through the county. Make this a permanent agenda item to the Tuesday BOCC meetings and make liberal use of workshops for specific items and explanation. We need full transparency as this will affect all parts of our society, not to mention the many organizations who have taken it upon themselves to provide services in this area. And I ask that you start this permanent agenda item next week. We need your evaluation and thoughts about this topic and discussion on how you would plan to move ahead. With that, I have packets for each of you. The packet consists of both of the studies and I have copies available for the public.
I would have, and I don't disagree with much, and I would suggest that my number one priority isn't your safety. My number one priority has always been your rights and liberties. Safety's up there. I think safety is very, very important, but personally, I don't put it number one. I'm there. I think we have a responsibility. Taxpayers want us to provide safety, and so that's high, but my number one is always your rights and liberties. I know and I know it's not perfect, but I know the state has opened more beds because when I first came on, we had people sitting in jail that had been there a year trying to wait to get evaluated to get a bed. And that's no longer the case. Marin says those are moving out faster. So I know the state has done a little bit. It's not enough, obviously, and I don't disagree that it would be nice to have something local that we could control better. So, but those are just a couple of comments to throw out. I'm always a little hesitant about the thing when you appoint one commissioner. When I look at how we're set up, and I think about it in a business, we're a three-man partnership. We're not a sole proprietorship. So when you get one commissioner running things, unless you're extremely transparent, I've said before, the other two commissioners asked me, we were looking at a juvenile mental health, and we still are looking at that. We're kind of looking with the tribes, but the agreement on that is no decisions were made by me unless it come with the commissioner. So it has to be very transparent because we don't operate autonomously. The voters say we want three, so we have to find a way to come to agreement. But those are just little comments, but I know you've done a lot of work on that and appreciate that. And I do agree it's a situation in Cowles County that would help because we dedicate too many beds to that in the jail, even though they're turning over faster.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the way our jail is set up, and I might be wrong on the numbers, they're kind of pods and is there 6 or 8 beds in a pod? 6? 6 beds. Sometimes when you have mental health issues, you can only have that one person there.
That's right.
So it does impact the jail, even if it's for a short period of time. Yeah.
Okay, this is the beginning of the conversation and your points are well taken and I'd say we agree 99%. So
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, what Larry has presented, I think, is called another opportunity or an opportunity view. We know that Longview and Camp Hope, Camp Alabama, whatever you want to call it, has been in action for a few years now and with a significant expense to the public in a variety of ways. And that it's time to really assess the success of that. And they'll be coming for money too. It's all the community, one way or another, has to pay the bill. But I think the success really needs to be put in terms of long-term success. And I'll just give a perspective. 50 little houses with them commenting about how they moved a number of people into permanent housing. Permanent housing is not sustainable because it is all still moving into subsidized housing in one way or another. And I'd like, when the report comes to us and when they come to you for money, ask, we really want a report that isn't just moving into another subsidized housing, but how it is really having success. Going into the element here, we know that through the meetings here, and Gina does an exemplary job of helping you display what some of the things the county's involved in, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. The number of NGOs and other expenses throughout this community and county is very, very underseen, let's say, invisible, et cetera. So part of this is to say, let's get a true picture. You're in a position with Gina and the group to say, let's assess where are all of the funds in the NGOs, et cetera, and their spending. They do good jobs, but they have a very good interest. You don't want the patient to go away. You want the patient to continue to be there. That's what pays the bills. So anyway, I'm saying is that this is another opportunity to take a look at it. I know families in the city that here that have people that have a mental issue of some way or another, and they can't do anything about it, even as a parent, because they're of age and they really need a professional intervention to help guide some of the change in process or change in service. So anyway, just an opportunity. I would ask and say that following your discussion on having some special sessions, the small homes and other things, I think this will be worth some special sessions here for citizens' input.
Sure. Go ahead and have a seat, Bill, but I got a hand up, so I'm going to take this one first, but go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead and take the seat, but I got a hand up, so I'm going to take this one
Oh,
first,
sure.
okay?
No problem.
Yeah. Darcy, go ahead.
Yeah, I unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I am thinking that this management position that was suggested could possibly streamline services that are now overlapping from all these various NGOs that are trying to serve these people. We need to quit going in circles and kind of head into a positive direction, because nobody wants to live in a society where we have to step over people who cannot care for themselves in the streets. And the chain reaction that may develop is it frees up the beds in the jails. That leads to a better law enforcement capabilities. And I had my hand up earlier regarding the forestry thing. I'd like to visit that again, but I want this conversation to continue first. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bill.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I really appreciated Larry's presentation. It's really important. We've been doing whack-a-mole for responses to the mentally ill for at least 40 years. They promised when they were clearing out the mental institutions, they would have funds for the cities to deal with it. It never came about. We've just been playing whack-a-mole, and it has been a disaster for a lot of people and caused a lot of deaths and a lot of misery, a lot of addiction, a lot of trauma. And so what we do need is a comprehensive system that really puts together the funds, the NGOs and everything in a way that we can actually deal with the problem that we know we're actually solving rather than just setting aside. I worked with the mentally ill for starting in 1989 at the VA, actually 87, sorry, so it's been a while. Then at Manual, I would have work with them in the wards, when the EDs, and I've seen the warehousing that goes on. I've seen the neglect, I've seen their misery, and I've seen the ineffective responses. And when Portland put through the Unity Hospital, they ended up losing 50 beds, not gaining any beds after they unified it was that badly managed. We need to really, really look at hard no, pardon my voice, hard-nosed ways to deal with it and how to be effective at this and actually help the problem, not make it worse. Thank you.
Good to see you, Bill. It's been a while. Anything else? Darcy, you had a question on previous conversation? Is she still on?
I don't see her. Oh, yeah.
There she is.
She got her hand up again.
Yeah. I think you
Well,
had a question. You had a question on the Forest Service
Yeah, I'm back.
stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, so is the county concerned about the amount of logging, taken of the resources that can be done in the county or statewide during that conversation? Because it's not very scientific, but I like to look at the Google images. You can see, you know, exactly from that viewpoint what kind of lands are available still or not. But I think it's kind of ironic that the Cowlitz County has lifted that moratorium on forest lands to allow developers to not have to replant as the county had required prior. But you could just now change it to other uses. And in fact, it's kind of funny timing. Just last night, I saw a SEPA come out for, I don't know, around 100 acres or something up in the Yale area on this exact situation. We're going to put in, I don't know, 500 acres or something on some forest land after harvest. So anyway, I just thought that was an ironic thing. If the county is concerned about that it has this, that it had lifted the moratorium.
Yeah, it was a little garbled, so I'm not sure I caught all of that, but I don't know that the county has a huge role. We don't issue permits to any loggers. That's all statewide permits or comes through that forests for that, whatever that board was. So I don't know how much authority we have. I'm not aware that we have. I don't think I can walk out and stop anything, Darcy.
No.
Yeah.
Why would you want to stop anything? I'm just saying that the county has used to have a moratorium. If you when you log the forested land, you had to replant within, I don't know, 6 years or whatever.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and they have lifted that. So that is reducing the amount of forest land in our county.
I get what you're going, yeah.
That's what I'm, yeah, and it reminded me of something else.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know
sorry,
what,
I lost it.
I don't know what every logging operation does. I know Sierra Pacific is the land up by mine and they've replanted everything real quickly, but I can't speak for everybody. Yeah. I might have to research that a little bit and see, because I don't really know the answer to that, Darcy.
Yeah, well, speaking about the comprehensive plan update, one bit of information that I felt would be helpful is to know how much of the forest land has been affected since the moratorium has been
Okay.
lifted. Yeah, because that's just more data, you know, to help. Because you hear talk about, oh, our industry, our natural resources and all that, but you look at the map and it's looking pretty skimpy,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Well, it's timely to do that because that brings up a good point. We are going through that process of our comprehensive plan update is due in 2026. So it is being worked on now, and when that gets to the point where it gets presented in a public meeting, you want to be part of that, because I know what I can tell you is what you see anywhere. The state is going to try and impose some different things on the county. And we'll want to be aware of that stuff. And so that's a good reminder, a good point, Darcy. Anybody else?
Back to the mental health
Sure.
facility. I think as a county, it'd be a good thing for us to examine what Larry has presented. I know for a fact that there are many overlapping services as far as mental health goes, and that those things can be really evaluated to where we could make it better for our county. So I'm all for learning more about what he has in mind. So thank you.
Well, I think the workshop idea was a good one. I think it's probably also, I don't chair Board of Health, but I think I see the chair of Board of Health. It might be something, an agenda item at some point in time in that arena also. But yeah, I do like the workshop idea and anything else? Want to chat at us with before we're out of here? I'll be gone the next 2 weeks, so you're stuck with the, what does Judge Evans call you? Steve Squared? Yeah.
The junior commissioner.
Yeah. I don't call you that. Okay. See nothing? I don't see any more hands. You don't see any hands? Okay, we will adjourn. As always, thanks for your participation. Thank you, sir, for coming by today.